One of the most important decisions that I ever made came during a trip that I made to London in 1999 to promote the film American Beauty. Now, before I tell you the story, I should put it in context where I was in my own life so that you can understand the choices that I made. Now, I had just spent the better part of the previous decade focusing on seeing whether I could build a film career for myself. And frankly, things had gone better than I could have possibly hoped. I did a series of films that have, I hope, stood the test of time. Swimming with Sharks, which you saw a little clip of. 7. Glengarry Glen Ross. The Usual Suspects. LA, this is, by the way, just cheap applause, by the way. LA Confidential and now American Beauty. And despite, or maybe because of the success I found, I was at a place in my own life where I was questioning what I should do next. Now, no doubt my agents and managers were rubbing their hands with glee and thinking, ooh, it's gravy train time. We're gonna cash in. But I was determined that I didn't want to end up in the trap that I had seen happen so many times to actors who reach a certain position and then just start doing movies that they probably shouldn't do for money or status. Not that I have anything against money or status, but I was interested in doing something outside of what might be expected, outside my own ambition, outside what I had already been doing for the past decade. I was looking for something that would challenge me in a unique and completely different way. Now, the previous year, in 1998, I had been in London doing a play called The Iceman Cometh. We did this play at this beautiful Victorian theater called the Old Vic. It's a nearly 200-year-old theater. This amazing 1,000-seat theater has been beloved by audiences for decades, but it had come into some disrepair over a number of years. After the National Theatre, one of Britain's most prestigious theaters, which had been born at the Old Vic and performed there for 14 seasons, moved into its own building in 1976, the Old Vic basically became a place that you could rent. Plays were put on there, but there was no company, no artistic director, no educational program, no outreach program. It was a place where you could, just rent it. And so I was asked by this group of people who were running the theater to go on a committee to help them find an artistic director. They felt that the theater hadn't really had one since Laurence Olivier had been the artistic director of the National during its time at the Old Vic. So anyway, there I was in '98, after having had this evening one night when I was free from promoting American Beauty. I had this free-flowing discussion with a whole bunch of people about what the Old Vic could be, what its future was. And I got back to my hotel and I couldn't sleep. And I kept thinking about what I'd heard about this great grand old theater that night from so many people who loved it and wanted to see it become a producing house again. And I heard over and over and over that it was at its best when it was an actors' theater. Laurence Olivier ran it, Peter O'Toole ran it, John Gielgud ran it. Anyway, I couldn't sleep, so I got up and I went outside to just sort of clear my head, and it was London, so naturally it was fucking raining. And I hailed a cab, and I had the cab drive me over to the National Theatre on the other side of the Thames. And I just sat there looking up at the National Theatre and thinking about where Laurence Olivier was in his career when he decided to take on the challenge of creating the National Theatre. I thought about where I was in my career. And then I walked down the 5 blocks to where the Old Vic sits on Waterloo Road, about 2 blocks from Waterloo Station. And sitting in the rain and looking up at this theater, it suddenly hit me that I should be the artistic director, that I should do this. It was staring me in the face. I'd imagined and dreamed about running a theater my whole life. In fact, I remember sitting in a Denny's restaurant in Chatsworth, California, drawing the plans for a theater that we were going to call Trigger Street, but that theater never got built. And I went back to America after this experience in London, and I told my team that I was going to finish doing the things I wanted to do in film for the next couple of years, and then I was going to pack up my life and move to London and start a theater company. And as you can expect, a lot of people thought I was fucking out of my mind.